Hey everyone, Jasper here from the Crack, and we're back to Undo Simpsons Review. And if you all didn't see the last one, go and check it out. And we are back with another Halloween special. Yep, the next Halloween special is upon us of the Treehouse of Horror. And I think this is the fifth one, I think. Again, y'all can see in the title, but yet we have another one. And I love this one too. Again, all of the Halloween specials have been good, but I just have to probably say that this one's definitely one of my favorites because of how funny it is. And Marge sang, of course, the whole classic, telling the younger viewers to be able not to watch it, and that they're saying that they can't even do it of how gruesome it is, and having to put on something else, which was funny. Which Bart and Homer pretty much hijacked the whole thing. And yeah, we see the whole intro. And pretty much these mistakes that Homer makes of not locking the house and pretty much not doing something else, and then leaving Grandpa Simpson at the gas station, which they make it to this mansion, which Mr. Burns and Smithers are there. And of course, give him a grand tour, which blood starts dripping out of the elevator, and he says it normally stops at the second floor. And William is, of course, watering the hedge maze, which Bart obviously makes a shortcut. And Smithers obviously cutting the cable off. And Mr. Burns taking all the beer too, so they would go insane. Which he says if they're lucky enough to have their family killed, then he'll get Smithers a Coke. Which they leave. Homer, obviously, eating, tries to turn on TV. He's like, cable's out. And then he says, no beer. And Marge is actually relieved and actually surprised at first. And he's like, I'd kill you all for TV or beer. And he says, be right back. Which Bart is wondering if, Bart and Lisa are wondering if he's gonna kill him, and he said, probably wait to see. But yeah, Homer pretty much at this bar and sees a ghost of Moe pretty much, telling him to do his family, and he'll give him a beer, which, yeah, Marge is trying to look for him, finds this note saying just fine, and yeah, pretty much saying all these weird things pretty much. And obviously she sees Homer, which starts going crazy, and he sees, which yeah, he's really going crazy, and sees his reflection, gets knocked out, which Marge tells him to stay there until he is not going to kill him, which she gets supper, and Moe is telling him to do the work, and he says he's eating, and these guys come and drag him away. And Homer obviously has an axe, and he's saying, here's Johnny. And he's like, oh. And then he sees another guy, or he sees Grandpa Simpson, and he's like, oh. Keeps messing up, and then another time, he sees the family, and Marge is trying to call in about Homer trying to kill him, and obviously, the police are obviously being what they are, pretty much saying what a relief, and don't even respond or anything. Yeah, pretty much being like they are. And William has that thought that Bart mentioned before, and pretty much summons William to come and save them, which he goes, and yeah, Homer pretty much gets him in the back. Which, yeah, Homer's doing everything he can. They go into the snow and see this radio, and pretty much he calms down, which they watch it, they start to freeze, and then the next story, pretty much. The next story, which I love this one, which the family are, of course, eating, and Homer saying of how lucky he is, and that obviously he's all of a sudden Homer's got his hand in the toaster, which he tries to bash it off. Then it's back again, and he tries to fix it, which using a rock, which, yeah, he uses all this high-tech gear, and it starts sparking when he tries to test it, and he gets sent back in time, pretty much. Yep, time travel. And he's the second one, because we also see Peabody and Sermon. Yep, Peabody and Sermon show up, saying that they're actually the first to time travel. Though he ends up in the prehistoric era. And he remembers this advice from his dad, saying if he ever time travel, any change in the past will affect the future. So, obviously, he kills this mosquito, and he's like, what kind of harm would it be? Because it's just a mosquito. So he ends up back, and Ned is pretty much taking over. In a world where Ned's taken over, and the whole house is shaken, and pretty much getting taken to the station, which he's forcing everybody to smile. And Mo's saying this thing where they take part of your brain pretty much for you to keep, which, yeah, the kids and even Marge is telling them to do it, which he screams, and the guard dogs are pretty much chasing him. He gets this meat and eats it, and he starts running faster. He time travels back. There's a dinosaur, and he does good until he sits on a fish, of not touching anything until he sits on a fish, which he time travels back. Seems like everything's fine, but the family are not there. But it turns out they're giant, and they decide to try to squish him. So he ends up back. He sneezes on the dinosaur. They all tip over like dominoes. And he ends up in this very nice place with the family. And they're like, what are donuts? And pretty much someone Patty are gone, which he's like, this is perfect. And yeah, when they mention no donuts, he freaks out and goes. And yeah, they say it's raining again, even though it's donuts. He goes back in time, but William says that he's going to do anything that he can to get him back to his time, which Maggie pretty much gets him in an axe again. So he talks. He gets back in time and back into the prehistoric. He starts smashing things, gets sent back. We see all these things of their house being turned into an igloo. The Flintstones house. This futuristic place. Their house that's underwater. A zoo. Bart as a Spanx. And of course the aliens obviously laughing, and the whole thing with time travel. And then yeah, they turn into pretty much Peabody and Sermon. And then the house is back to its normal state. Homer hopefully thinks he's back home, and the family welcome him, and he's wondering exactly what it is, and everything is fine. And yeah, they have like chameleon-like tongues, and he says, it's fine. And then the next story, Nightmare Cafeteria, which, yeah, all the kids are playing and saying that turn all their chairs are backwards before Mrs. Krabappel comes in, which pretty much she sends him to the detention when, yeah, his only chair is turned backwards, which detention is pretty much all filled, and Principal Skinner pretty much sending him to the cafeteria. And obviously wondering about the whole cafeteria situation, and them saying of what they're having to feed off of, which pretty much one of the bullies gets the food on him, which, yeah, he pretty much gets used pretty much, and they're wondering what it is exactly, and he tells them on the secret, and they think that pretty much of killing him pretty much, and they're wondering where he is pretty much, which, yeah, and he says they're all in weird Scottish uniforms, and Bart and Lisa are coming to Marge saying that the whole cafeteria is wanting to eat them, and she's like, she can't help with that, but go in there and say to don't eat them. Which, yeah, everybody's all fat looking, and like Mrs. Carbapple, and pretty much sent to detention. Which, she reads this book, The Joy of Cooking Millhouse, which Millhouse, Lisa and Bart try to make an escape. They see all these kids pretty much all trapped by Principal Skinner. And the lunch lady pretty much coming in. And obviously, William getting chopped again. And yeah, pretty much they're getting surrounded. And, well, the blade comes on, and they're wondering that somebody would have to come and save them. Well, Millhouse gets killed first, and then Bart and Lisa. But it just turns out it was a nightmare, pretty much. And this inside-out gas comes in. And, yeah, pretty much makes all turn inside out. Where we see all their organs, and they're all pink and stuff. And then the episode ends with them just dancing, and we see Grandpa Simpson all inside out too. Really weird, but funny as well. But like I said, this is probably by far my favorite. I know I said it with the other ones too, but this one probably my favorite by far of the ones so far. For real, honestly. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. Hit the like button, subscribe if you don't. It's fun to get this turned on, so you don't miss anything new. And let me know what y'all think. Catch you on the next one.